माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारि यमुनातीरवनचारि जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम हरे कृष्ण प्रभु you want me to share the screen?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah,
Hare
please.
Krishna, yes.
Thank you.
We're doing 4.28.57 today, right, Prabhu? Or 58?
Mataji, actually, 1 second, Mataji.
I think, no, 69, I think, Mataji. 59, 59.
Yes, 59, yes, Prabhu. Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
59 to 62, Mataji.
59,
Yes.
60. Sure, Prabhu. Just give me a minute.
Start with Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadankitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranavami Hari Priye Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. So today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 28, verse number 59. So, anyone want to read it? The shloka?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, can I?
Yes, Shilpa
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you want me to read the shloka and the translation as well?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Tasmin svatvam ramaya sprishto ramam anushrutas smritaha tatsangadir tvashim prapto dasham papa papiyasim prabho. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear friend, when you enter such a body along with the woman of material desires, you become overly absorbed in sense enjoyment. Because of this, you have forgotten your spiritual life. Due to your material conceptions, you are placed in various miserable conditions. Purport, brother?
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, can you
Hare
scroll
Krishna,
to
Archana
Mataji?
Mataji.
Scrolling, yeah.
Hare Krishna, sorry.
Archana Mataji, you can read the
Archana
purport.
Mataji, yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Pranam. Purport by
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When a person becomes materially engrossed, he has no capacity to hear about spiritual existence. Forgetfulness of spiritual existence entangles a man more and more in material existence. Such is the result of sinful life. Various bodies are developed with material ingredients because of different types of sinful activities. King Puranjana assumed the body of a woman, Vaidharbi, as a result of his sinful activities. Bhagavad Gita clearly says, Triyo Vaishyas Tada Sudra, that such a body is low born. If one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, he can be elevated to the highest perfection, even though he be low born. One acquires lower births when one's spiritual intelligence is reduced. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So these 4 verses that we are going to do today, they are quite interesting. They are actually they represent the entire spiritual journey. For example, this verse we are talking about our forgetfulness, how we are forgetting, and then the next word talks about remembrance, how the Supreme Lord, as a super soul, he remembers. And then the other next words we'll talk about the mystery. So because the super soul explains we are qualitatively same, like you are also a spirit and I'm also spiritual, then how does a spiritual being actually forgets his real identity? And then finally, the last other verse number 62, we see that the relationship is actually is eternal. It's true and it's eternal. So, in this purport, Prabhupada actually explains about our forgetfulness, and also, this famous word Sriya Vaishya Tata Shudra. So this is lot of discussion about this particular words and why and how it is said that the birth of a Striya woman and Vaishya Tata Shudra is lower and things like that. But in spite of all that, Prabhupada, at many places, he clearly explains for spiritual life, there is actually nothing is a disqualification for a spiritual life. The Kunti Maharani, what does she say? Janma Ishwarya Shruta Shrivir Edamanam Idapunam Naivarhati Dhatuvyam Tvam Akinchana Gochara. She says that actually spiritual life, people who are Janma of high birth, Aishwarya, lot of wealth, Shruta, who is knowledgeable, and then Shribir, he's got a beautiful body. For them, it actually becomes very difficult to remember, because they are already proud and of their beauty or their wealth or things like that. So, as Prabhupada explains at many places, that the bodies, it's just like our material bodies. They are our original identity is nothing but a spirit soul, and the original nature of spirit soul is Jivera Swarupai Hai Nitya Krishna Dasa. Our eternal position is that of a servant of Krishna. So whether it's a male body, whether it's a female body, the only difference is that it's just like you see different vehicles. There could be a Rolls Royce car, and there could be a normal. So some cars can run with a higher speed, some cars can go with a lower speed or things like that. But ultimately, to reach destination, if one is sincere, they will actually keep going on that path. And also in this same, there was a lot of here. Prabhupada actually gave there. He said that for material life, actually, women are more conducive because women are more simple hearted, and they take up spiritual life very easily. And in fact, Prabhupada, I think our Sampradaya, ISKCON, is the only one in the world which has actually have spiritual masters as Matajis as spiritual masters, and also women as spiritual masters. And also our Sampradaya is the only Sampradaya where Gayatri is given. Gayatri and Brahmin Diksha is given to women. In fact, in the earlier times when Prabhupada just came back from US trip to Vrindavan, some other this Brahmanas of Vrindavan, they came and they started arguing one time with Prabhupada. They said, Babaji, we heard that you are giving Gayatri to women, Gayatri to Matajis. And Prabhupada said, who told you? Said, no, what do you mean, who told you? Yeah, your disciples are there, they are also doing Gayatri. And Prabhupada said, actually, have you been to America? And they said, no. Actually, if you go to America and if you see, there is no woman. Everyone is man. No, in fact, women are better than men. So this was the level Prabhupada would actually see everyone as the spirit soul, and everyone has same qualification to actually go to the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, in this Prabhupada again it writes here, if one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, he can be elevated to the highest perfection, even though he is low born. Of course, it is said, the Shastras themselves say that Kalau Shudra Sambhava. In Kali Yuga, everyone by birth is like a Shudra anyway. So, and then Prabhupada explains, one acquires lower births when one's spiritual intelligence is reduced. We have seen in this same analogy itself, Puranjana, he was actually a king, but because of his attachment and sinful activities and attachment to his wife, in the next life he was born as a woman. So that's what Prabhupada is actually explaining. So the first problem is our this enjoying nature. What is that verse? 13.2122. Prakriti Purushastehi Bhunkte Janagunan Karanam Guna Sangasya Sat Asad Yoni Janmaso. So in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it said that the reason a spirit soul is actually suffering, is going through all these reactions of material nature, is because he wants to enjoy the material nature. Prakriti Purushastohi Bhunkte Jangunam. And then he start interacting with these material elements. And so actually it is said that, you see, Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, from 13 to 18, it is actually divided as a Jnana section. And then we can consider this verse, this enjoying propensity, is like the seed of the whole thing. And then, and 14th chapter actually talks about the three modes of material nature, which is actually like water, the water that actually waters the seed. And then in chapter 15, we see that Krishna talks about this Ashwata Vriksha, the banyan tree, inverted banyan tree. So that is again like the water of three material modes have watered the seed that is in the 13th chapter, Prakriti Purushastohi. And then the seed has actually grown into a huge banyan tree with all the branches. And then chapter 16 talks about divine and demoniac natures. So, which is the two sides of the branches, divine and demonic nature, the branches. And chapter 17 talks about the one who is in the middle. And chapter 18, of course, is the final conclusion of everything. So that's how, so coming back here, our main problem is misidentification, forgetfulness. And the crux of this material suffering is actually, by nature, we are all Satchitananda. We are all Satchitananda, spirit souls. So, but the reason why we are suffering is because of loss of memory and misassociation. So, and then because of this, what happens is the soul needs to be a master, becomes a servant of his senses. So, Bhagavad Gita also says, there's another verse in Bhagavad Gita, Verse number 62, chapter 2, contemplating on the sense objects. What is that
Dhyayato
verse?
Vitayan Pumsa Prabhuji.
Dhyayato Vishayam Pumsal. Sangasteshu Pajayate. Sangat Sanjayate Kamo. Kamakrodho Vijayate. Contemplating on the sense objects, one develops an attachment. From attachment, desire, and from desire, anger, and from anger, delusion, loss of memory, intelligence, and then falling down into the material pool. So this verse actually is exactly mirroring Puranjana's experience that we are going through in this one. So, but this verse also gives us some hope. The hope is that there is a word in this shloka. There is a Prabhu. Prabhu, that is our true nature. We are actually supposed to be and actually truly masters. And then, but somehow we have become servants or slaves. So, what is the diagnosis? Is the first step is to identify, to know that we are actually entangled, and then the words of super soul, for example, here the Brahmanas words, they are actually carrying the power to restore the memory of us. Next words, Mataji.
Yeah, Sharmila Mataji, can you please read the shloka and the translation?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Natvam vidarbhaduhita nayam veera suhritava napatestvam puranjanya ruddho navamukeya. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Actually, you are not the daughter of Vidarbha, nor is this man, Malaya Dwaja, your well-wishing husband, nor were you the actual husband of Puranjani. You were simply captivated in this body of 9 gates. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, should we read the purport also?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Shobha Mataji, Hare Krishna, can you please read the purport?
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Prabhujis and Matajis. From purport by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the material world, many living entities come into contact with one another and increasing their attachment to a particular type of body becomes related as father, husband, mother, wife, etc. Actually, every living entity is a separate individual being. And it is because of his contact with matter that he comes together with other bodies and becomes falsely related. False bodies create various associations in the name of family, community, society, and nationality. Actually, every living entity is part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the living entities are overly engrossed in the material body. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appears and gives instructions in the form of Bhagavad Gita and Vedic literatures. The Supreme Lord gives these instructions because He is the eternal friend of the living entities. His instructions are important because by them, the living entity can obtain liberation from bodily engagement. As water passes through a river, many straws and grasses are carried from the shore. These straws and grasses come together in the river current. But when the waves toss this way and that, they are separated and carried somewhere else. Similarly, the innumerable living entities within this material world are being carried by the waves of material nature. Sometimes the waves bring them together and they form friendship and relate to one another on a bodily basis of family, community, or nationality. Eventually, they are thrown out of association by the waves of material nature. This process has been going on since the creation of the material nature. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura sings, Miche Maya Ravache Yacha Beshe Kacha Hapu Dhubu Bai Dhiva Krishna Dasaye Vishevasa Karleta Aradhukanai. My dear living entities, you are being carried away by the waves of material nature. Sometimes you are on the surface, sometimes you are being drowned. In this way, your eternal life is being spoiled. If you simply catch hold of Krishna and take shelter of his lotus feet, you will once again get free from all the miserable material condition. In this world, the words Suhrut, well-wisher, and Tava, yours, are very significant. One's so-called husband, relative, son, father, or whatever cannot actually be a well-wisher. The only actual well-wisher is Krishna himself, as Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Shloka 5.29. Suhritam Sarva Bhutana. Society, friendship, love, and well-wishers are all simply results of being packed in different bodies. One should know this well and try to get out of this bodily engagements with, into which one is thrown birth after birth. One should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and return back home, Godhead. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Dandavats. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji.
Sorry, can you go back to the starting of the translation, Mataji? Yeah, okay. So this is what it is. The material world comes, all the living entities, they come in contact with another. How does they come? It's by, like basing on their karma. And they come here, and then basing on the nature or karma, it's a karmana daivanetrena. It said, Kapila Dev's teaching, it says that under the direction of the daivanetrena, the living beings, they take birth in certain species of life, and they become a family. And we can see not only in human beings, in all the, even in the animal kingdom also, there's families. There's rabbit families, there's elephant families, there's lion families. So, and the interesting thing is, all these animals also, everything, like for example, a dog, in the body of the dog, it thinks that he is a dog. No? Similarly, human being, he thinks he is actually the body. And so apart from these people sometimes take up these functional identities. What are the functional identities? A father, a husband, a mother, a wife. This is functional identities. Means they are not temporary. They could be for some time, and after that, they may not exist. Or sometimes someone could be an IT engineer, but once he retires, he is no longer an IT engineer. So these are all the temporary designations. So, but then what happens is we take up these temporary designations as permanent, and then we actually forget our original identity. So actually, his Prabhupada says, actually every living entity is a separate individual being, and because of his contact with the matter, he comes together with other bodies and becomes falsely identified. And in the translation, as Prabhupada was explaining, just like all the straws in the river, they come together because of the water flow, and they stay for some time, and then after the water flow, they go away. Similarly, someone get married, then he'll have children, there will be a family, and the children grow up, and then the children, they grow somewhere else, and they set up their own families. So what is happening here? A family, there's people coming here, and then again people spreading out. And then finally father or mother or someone dies away, and then the family is finished. So this is continuously happening. And ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्स मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजस ज्ञानवृत्तिस्स adam gacchati tamasa. So depending on whatever the nature, we are going either up or down or staying in the middle. So people in the mode of goodness, they are going up. People in the mode of passion, they are staying on the middle planetary system. And then people going in the mode of ignorance, they are actually going into the lower forms of life. But ultimately, Krishna explains, Mamaya Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. He says, ultimately, all these living entities, they are all nothing but parts and parcels of me. So just like here, Avijnata is saying, actually, you're not the daughter of Vidarbha. nor is this man, Malaya Dvaja, your well-wishing husband, nor what you the actual husband of Puranjani. You are simply captivated in this body of 9 gates. So this is our misidentification. Actually, there was a story. One time Indra was cursed or something happened. So Indra was born as a pig. I think he was cursed by somebody, and he was born as a pig. And then he was born as a pig, and then he also had a wife, and then he also had a lot of small piglets, and then he's enjoying his life in the muddy water, eating all the nonsense. And then Lord Brahma actually comes and tells Indra that, my dear Indra, what are you doing here? You are actually the king of heaven. Come back with me. And then Indra says, no, 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 I'm actually quite happy here. I'm enjoying. I'm looking after my family. Everything is going on fine. Also, that is what is the attachment. So, as initially we are discussing that this forgetfulness. But even though we forget, the Supreme Lord does not forget because He is our well-wishing friend. For example, you all remember when your child, when he's going to the school, what you do initially, you actually go with him all the way to the school, and you drop him in the school. And then when the school finishes, you go and you pick him up, and again you bring him back from the school. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, in the form of Super Soul, he is actually accompanying us everywhere in whatever the bodies we are going, different bodies that we are taking. He is actually patiently accompanying us, and trying to make us remember our original identity. But then, what are we doing? What is that? Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimodatma kartaham iti manyate. We are actually thinking, bewildered by the three modes of this material nature. We are thinking that we are actually so and so. I am a father, I am a mother, I am so and so, I am an engineer, and then we are thinking I am actually doing this, I'm doing. But ultimately, everything is carried out by the three modes of material nature. The spirit soul is actually is beyond all this. Is beyond happiness. Is beyond distress. Is but then just like the same. So how did we actually forget? This is the question we need to ask. When the spirit soul is actually parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, uh, and qualitatively one, like the Supreme Lord, how did it actually forget? I think next verse we will talk about that. We'll do the next verse, Mataji. Yeah.
Sudha Mataji, you can read the verse and the translation. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you want us to read the purport as well?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Just.
Hare Krishna.
Rishabhanu Mataji, you read the purport. Hare Krishna. Mataji, you read the purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Maya hi esha maya shrishta yat pumam sam striyam satim manyase no bhayam yadvai ham sau pashyavayor gatim. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sometimes you think yourself a man, sometimes a chaste woman, and sometimes a neutral eunuch. This is all because of the body which is created by the illusory energy. This illusory energy is my potency, and actually, both of us, you and I, are pure spiritual identities. Now, just try to understand this. I am trying to explain our factual position. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The factual position of both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity is qualitatively one. Qualitatively one. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Spirit, the spiritual, the super soul, and the living entity is the individual spiritual soul. Even though both of them are originally spiritual identities, the living entity forget his identity when he comes in the contact with material nature and becomes conditioned as at such a Prabhuji, please. At such a time, the identities himself as a product of the material of the material nature. Because of the nature material body, he forget that he is the eternal, means Sanatan part and parcel of the supreme personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in uh, this Mamaivanso, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The word Sanatan is found in several places in Bhagavad Gita. Both the Lord and the living entity are Sanatan, means eternal, and there is also a place known as Sanatan beyond this material nature. The real residence of both the living entity and God is the domain of Sanatan, not this material world. The material world is temporary. External energy of the Lord, and the living entity is placed in this material world because he wanted to initiate the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uh, in this material world, he tries to enjoy his senses to his best capacity. All the activities of the conditional soul within this material world are perpetually taking place in different types of the bodies. But when the living entity acquires developed consciousness, he he should try to rectify his situation and again become a member of the spiritual world. The process by which one can return home back to Godhead is material body. One should take
Is Bhakti
sorry
Yoga, Mataji. Hare
sorry हाँ
Krishna.
bhakti yoga sometime sometimes called sanatan dharma tested instead of accepting temporary occupational duty based on the perpetual based on the material body, one should take to the process of sanatan dharma or bhakti yoga so that he can put an end to his perpetual bondage in material bodies and return home back to Godhead. As long as human society works on the basis of the false material identification, all the so-called advancement of science and philosophy are simply useless. They only serve to mislead human society. And Andha Mataji, please.
Andha Yathandar, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. Mataji, can Sumangala Mataji continue reading? Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
okay, Mataji.
Andha yatandhar upaniyamanaha. In the material world, the blind simply lead the blind. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, today so
Hare
many
Krishna.
mistakes I have
No
taken.
problem. No problem. So here, super soul, Avijnata, or the Brahmana is explaining to king that sometimes you think you're a man, sometimes woman, sometimes Anuj, but ultimately you are not this body, which is created by my illusory energy. The illusory energy is my potency, and actually both of us, you and I, are spiritual identities. Now try to understand this. I'm trying to explain you factual position. So this is the super soul, the form of Brahmana, explaining to Vaidarbi or Puranjana. So And then translation Prabhupada explained factual position of both Supreme Personal of Godhead and living entity, qualitatively one. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's greatest explanation of how a living entity, although is spiritual in nature, becomes covered by the material energy. And then, but still is actually originally considered as a spirit soul. So there's a different philosophies. There is Advaita philosophy. Advaita philosophy says that actually there is nothing other than Brahman. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. So it says that we are all the same spirit, and somehow we became separated from the spirit. But the day we go and merge back into spirit, we actually can remember everything, all this. But then the question comes: if you are actually spirit, then how is that? How did we forget in the first place? And then how is that the supreme soul gets affected by its own energy? Here Krishna has clearly mentioned the illusionary energy. So, and then after that, there is different philosophies. Ramanujacharya, Vishishta Dvaita, and then Madhvacharya's Dvaita. But none of these philosophies actually explain this paradox of how a living entity, which is spiritual in nature, becomes covered by a material energy. In fact, the same question was asked by, I think, by Vidura to Maitreya in the second or third canto. Yes, why? How is that? How is it possible? So same thing is repeating here. And then our philosophy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation, Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, simultaneous, oneness, and difference. Even though qualitatively we are same, like a Supreme Lord is considered to be like a gold mine, and we are just considered like a speck of gold. So qualitatively, or Supreme Lord is considered to be like a huge ocean, and we are just like a drop of ocean. So qualitatively we are same, but then quantitatively Supreme Lord is Vibhu, unlimited, and we are Anu, tiny. And so that's why, because we are tiny, and Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that this supreme energy of mind is very difficult to overcome. Anyone remember this shloka?
दैवी हि एषा गुणमयी मम
Yes.
माया मामेव ये
Yes.
प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Daivi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Durachaya Mam Eva Ye Prapajante Maya Metam Tarantite. So thank you, Mataji. So Krishna actually explains very clearly that this divine energy of mind is very difficult to overcome. So Krishna also says that this material energy, in that context, he says it is actually divine energy. Says normal living beings, you cannot come out of it unless you take shelter of me. So that is actually the thing. We need to take shelter of Krishna or a guru that can actually get out of us this material nature. So this third verse is quite interesting. So this is a great mystery. Tad rahasyam. How can eternal pure soul can be covered by a temporary illusion? And so many philosophers, they struggled with why does this happen? And then but then actually it's explained that whatever it is, you don't need to worry about why we are here. Someone once asked Prabhupada, how do we know that when we have come into this material world? Is it like one lifetime ago, or 10 lifetimes, or millions of lifetimes? How do you know? And Prabhupada said, don't worry how long you have been here. You think of how you need to actually go back. You plan your back, journey back home. So it's just like if there is a huge fire in a building, and then you try to, your first duty is actually run out of the building and save yourself from the fire. But you won't sit there and start experimenting or investigation. How did this fire start? Is that a electric circuit, something burned out, or is it someone's stove? Someone forgot, put something on the stove and they forgot. Is that how it's burned? Or is that someone smoking some cigarette or something and they threw it somewhere? No, you don't worry. Fire is there. It started. You run away from it and you escape from it. Mm. So that is the main thing. Don't get lost by why we are here. Mm. What is important is that how to get away from it. Krishna explains, "Na tadbhashayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yadgatva na nivartante taddama paramam mama." Krishna explains about this spiritual world, where there is no sunlight or electricity, nothing is required, and everything is effulgent. So that is the spiritual world where we all come from, and our endeavor should be to go back to that spiritual world. So and then anything else you can learn from this? Of course, here there's 3 levels of understanding. First level is a theoretical understanding, that we hear in the class, that Deino Sminyata Dehe Kaumara Me Vanam Jara Tata De Antarapa. Oh, okay, I'm not this body, you're not the body. But then you need to actually realize it, actually feeling separate from the bodily identity. That is the second step. And then the perfected step is constant awareness, even while acting in the world. So in second chapter, Arjuna asks that Sita Prajna Kya Bhasha. So how does this person of Sita Prajna, how does he sit, how does he eat, how does he conduct his life? So Sita Prajna is the one who actually knows that he is actually not the body. So that's the perfection that we need to develop. So in this verse and these couple of few verses, we have seen that the mystery is actually multi-layered. Multi-layered means how this material world actually is existing. How can a temporary material exist along the spiritual or eternal soul? Because just like, the rainwater is fresh, but when rain comes and it mixes with the mud or soil, it becomes completely dirty. So similarly, spirit soul is always pure, but then the moment it combines with its material elements, nature, then it actually becomes, and then it becomes very difficult for us to know. Then we get all these coverings, and then it's very difficult for us to know our original position. So this is how the soul forgets its original identity. And then what is the solution? How can it be reversed? Because it's deeply conditioned. So many lifetimes it's been coming. It can be done by practicing devotional service, taking shelter of a spiritual master, and worshipping the Supreme Lord. So this condition can be reversed. Just like if someone is too much materially affected, they don't actually like to hear these things. For example, now we don't know how much that is true or false, but sometimes people they say they are affected by some ghosts or something, and then they take him to some person to get the ghost out of their body. So that person, he will be telling this person, okay, you say this name of the Lord, and then he says Rama, Krishna, or something, and then the person who's possessed, he says, "No, I will not say. I will not say." so, so similarly, depending on our level of attachment or coverings, a spirit soul, uh, we act in such a way. So, and then of course, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that Tesham evanukampartam aham ajnana jam tamaha nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvita. Krishna says that out of compassion, I actually come in their heart and enlighten and give them knowledge. So, and of course, we all know that as spirit souls, we come under the Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy of the Lord. So there is spiritual energy and there is material energy, and the one that we are is in between, which is Tatastha. Tatastha means it's not completely like on a bank, but it's not completely dry or it's not completely wet. So it's on the border margin. That's why so the bank on the river sometimes is dry, and then when the water comes on the beach or something, when the water comes, it again becomes wet, and then when the water goes back, it again after it becomes dry. Like that. Similarly, we get affected by this material energy. So that's why we are called as Tatastha Shakti, marginal energy. And then also there's a differentiation. We are all called as Nitya Baddha. Nitya Baddha means eternally conditioned. Whereas some of the souls that we see, like our spiritual masters or Srila Prabhupada, these are all like Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated souls. They are actually associates of Lord Krishna. And then they were in the past tense of Lord Krishna and Radharani, and they come down to actually reclaim lost souls like us back. So, so this is Nitya Baddha and Nitya Siddha devotees. And then, of course, these things are, some other things are achintya, inconceivable for our understanding. So, so that's why we need to accept these teachings of achintya Beda Beda Tattva. Okay, next verse, please.
So, Mangala Mataji, you read the verse and the translation. Barnali Mataji, the purport. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Dandat pranams, Prabhuji. Aham bhavan chanyastvam tvam evaham vichakshvabho nano pashyanti kavayas chitram jatu manag api. Hare Krishna. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. My dear friend, I, the super soul, and you, the individual soul, are not different in quality, for we are both spiritual. In fact, my dear friend, you are qualitatively not different from me in your constitutional position. Just try to consider this subject. Those who are actually advanced scholars who are in knowledge do not find any qualitative difference between you and me. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you, Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Purport. Both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity are qualitatively one. There is no factual difference between the two. The Mayavadi philosophers are again and again defeated by the illusory energy because they think that there is no separation between the super soul and the individual soul, or that there is no super soul. They are also misled in thinking that everything is the super soul. However, those who are Kavaya, learned scholars, actually know the facts. They do not commit such mistakes. They know that God and the individual soul are one in quality, but that the individual soul falls under the clutches of Maya. Whereas Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the controller of Maya. Maya is the creation of the Supreme Lord, Maya Srishta. Therefore, Supreme Lord is the controller of Maya. And although one is in quality with Supreme Lord, the individual soul is under the control of Maya. Mayavadi philosophers cannot distinguish between the controller and the controlled. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you. So this again Prabhupada explains here. Supreme Personal Godhead, living entities are qualitatively one. Then this Mayava, the philosopher, says that they are actually everyone is one. But Bhagavad Gita, it is very in the very beginning it is refuted that anyone know that verse? Natvevaham jatunasham natvam neme janadipa nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamataha param. Never was a time when I did not exist, when you did not exist, and when all these kings did not exist. The only difference is that I remember my past, future, and everything, but you don't remember anything. So that means that the souls are always separate. It's not that one day the Supreme Lord divided himself and became souls. No. Om Purnamida Purnama. That first invocation mantra of Ishopanishad. Even though Supreme Lord produces so many things, including this the material energy, the material world, and the souls, living entities, jivas, even though he does everything, still he is actually Purnam, is still complete. And then whatever that is produced by him, they are also complete by themselves. So that's why the eternal position of a jiva is not actually becoming one or becoming a god one day. No, there was actually one time in USA, Prabhupada was giving a class, and then some drug addict or somebody, some crazy person, he was getting up. He was getting up in the middle of the class and he kept saying, "I am God, I am God, I am God." And Prabhupada said, that's okay, because when Prabhupada started preaching, it was actually in what is that? A place called Bovary. Bovary is a place where like there is drug addicts and all these people, they go around. So this is like one of those crazy person. The person kept telling that I am God, I am God. And Prabhupada said, don't worry, you sit down. But then he kept getting up and said, and then some of the class finished, and then this so-called God wanted to go to bathroom. And then he asked, can I go? And Prabhupada said, no, why do you want to go? You are Supreme Lord anyway. So you are controlling the whole world, all the planets. I'm sure you'll be able to control your nature's call. And that person, he was begging, he was saying, so no. And then finally agreed that, yes, I'm not God, but I want to go to the bathroom. And then, and finally they showed him, and then he went. But he was such a rascal that after going and coming back, he was telling that, actually, I'm still God. Whatever I was doing is only like my pastime. So this was so much crazy that people can be. But anyway, here this 4 verses actually. If you see, this is very interesting and amazing verses. As in the beginning, I was telling that the Supreme Lord is our dear friend. What is that verse? Tvameva mata pita tvameva bandhu saka tvameva. So like that, even though we forget, so in the verse 59 we talked about forgetfulness. Even though we forget, in the verse 60, Krishna explains, the super soul is explaining, even though we forget, he still remembers, and he is coming up as a super soul. He is trying to help us, trying to remind us. Sarvasya chaham hridasannivishto mattasmritir gyanam apohanancha vedesha sarver ahameva vedya vedanta krudveda videha chaham. So sarvasya chaham hridasannivishto. Krishna is saying, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes knowledge and remembrance and forgetfulness. So if someone wants to forget the Lord so that he can enjoy, see, there is, for example, why people want to forget God, you might wonder. Because people don't want to be accountable for all the wrong things they are doing. For example, if someone prepares, there's people are serving food in a buffet. So someone prepares a nice plate, he goes and takes a curry, one laddu or whatever, everything, he prepares a plate. And then he keeps it to a side and goes. And if someone comes, and then we tell them, oh, take the plate, they hesitate to take the plate. It says, oh, no, I don't want to take it because it looks like someone already prepared it for themselves. Similarly, these materialistic people, they want to enjoy and they want to do all the nonsense. But when they think of the Lord, they can actually not do those things. So that's why they want to forget. Now, there is a story in Ramayana. What happens is once story from the Ramayana. Ravana goes and wakes up Kumbhakarna, says, my dear brother, get up, we need to have a fighting. And then he explains the context, what is happening. And then Kumbhakarna says, oh, that's okay. You are already, you got all these magical powers. Why don't you just become like Rama and go to Sita? You become like Rama and go to Sita. And then she's going to actually, she'll be happy and she's going to accept you. And then Ravana said, yeah, that is true. But as soon as they become like Rama, then Sita appears like mother to me because my consciousness actually changes. So that's why for our forgetfulness also we need the Lord's help. And to remember, of course, also we need his help. And then the next verse number 61, we talked about the mystery. What is the greatest mystery? That if we are actually spirit souls, how is that we got trapped here in the material bodies? And then and in verse 62, we have seen that even though we are trapped in the material world, but still the relationship compared to all the relationship, Deha, Patra, Kalatra, Adishu, Atma, Sanyeshu, Aswapi, compared to all these fallible soldiers like, Deha, Patra, Kalatra, Adishu, all these family members, recently one of my friend, he got fever. And then I was talking to him, just normal fever, viral fever. And then he was telling me, Prabhuji, it was such a terrible fever. My body was paining like anything. And I thought I'm going to die. And then he told me that, of course, my mother was there, my father was there, my wife was there. They are all coming. They are asking, what can we do for you? They're coming and putting some cold patch, hot patch, soup or whatever. But ultimately, Prabhuji, I realized that they can only help us to a certain extent, but they cannot actually help us. Then I explained him, that's why you need to remember. And then he told me that, and then the sad thing, Prabhu, is that I could not chant my rounds because I was in so much pain. Then I explained him, that's why it's important. Now, like Kulashekar Alvar says, Krishna Tvadiya Pada Panjarantam Adaiva Vishate Manasa Rajahamsa Prana Prayana Kapavata Pittai Kantavarodam Kutastu Smarami. Kulashekar Alvar, King Kulashekara is praying to the Lord that, my dear Lord, just like the Rajahamsa, the swan, what is the play for swan? It tries to entangle its neck with the lotus stems. It gets entangled in the lotus stems, its neck. The swan, it's got a long neck as well. And that's a play for it. It says, similarly, it says, let my mind be entangled in your lotus feet when I am healthy. Because who knows, at the time of my giving up my body, I may not be able to chant your name. My throat might be choked up and my senses are not in my control, none of the body parts. And then I may not be able to remember you. So, and I told him. So, anyway, so that was, it's like that. All right, we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Sorry, it's already 4 o'clock.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful class, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Anybody, any questions? Yeah, Sumangala Mataji, please ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Not a question, Prabhuji. I just wanted to share some story on this about the Maya, which I heard yesterday. It was very nice. So I would like to share. Is it okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Prabhuji,
yes, yes.
there was a fisherman who was about to, he goes for a fishing, and so many fishes are, he catches every day. But one fish, somehow it escapes, Prabhuji, every day. So in that story, the Mataji said that do you know how that only one fish was able to got escaped? So each day, whenever he throws a net, that fish goes and stands near the feet of the fisherman. So that is why that doesn't fall into the trap of that net. So this is what Mataji said. So it was very nice, Prabhuji, to hear like that. The Maya is there, which is thrown by Lord Krishna himself. So it is the energy of the Lord. So like that, if we catch hold of his lotus feet and his pure devotees' lotus feet, then there won't be any difficulties of Maya.
Yes.
So this was very nice, Prabhuji. So I just felt that. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Nice sharing, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Prabhu, can we end the class?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Vancha
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarupasya
Vacha
kripa
Kripa
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव
Ananta
वृंद की
Koti
जय, शिल
Vaishnava
प्रभुपाद
Vrinda
की
ki
जय,
jai.
ग्रंथराज प्रेम
Srimad
जी
Bhagavatam
की
ki
जय।
jai.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhu. Thank you,
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Krishna.
very
I'll
much.
end the class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you all.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.